Yeah, so I think just going back to one of the, we're talking about just focusing on your, your vision, your style, and not letting other things kind of like derail you from that. So I just wanted to talk a bit about or ask around like style,
Mm.
having a style as an artist versus, being a generalist. Because I think there is some debate around that, and like which one is more profitable, which one is
Yeah.
better for branding.
Mm.
Should you have a style that you stick to, or should you be a generalist? So
Mm.
I want to hear your thought. What do you think about those two things?
About a style. Um, so I think two things can be right. Both ways can work. I don't think being having a specific thing guarantees you sales, or having a lot of things that you're representing also guarantees you sales. I think it's about how we communicate what we have, right? So even being a generalist, if you know what you're general about
Mm-hmm.
still, then you can communicate that.
Yeah.
For me specifically, I do have a style of art. Even though I experiment with acrylic paint, ink work, fashion, jewelry, and things like that, I still have most of the things that I use as all my art pieces, right? So most of I guess I would say my style goes into how far I'm also willing to express myself and discover myself through the paintings.
Yeah.
So I can give you an example of the black and white ink sketches that I do are categorized under deeply rooted.
Yeah.
That's when I got back to painting. Just like you said, we I have dabbled and dabbled, right? So initially, my journey started with sketching because
Yeah.
when I was little, I used to sketch what my cousin used to sketch. He was an artist as well, so I used to duplicate his work,
Yeah.
right? So whatever he has done, I will sketch it again. I
Mm.
will, and I used to use like pencil colors at the time.
Yeah.
So I used to do whatever he did. And then I grew out of that a bit and went into fashion. So in high school, we used to have fashion shows, and I used to go into clothing because I felt like that's how I could express myself.
Yeah.
And I went to an all girls school, I mentioned, and we used to wear a uniform.
Yeah.
So there was no self
Expression.
expression
Yeah.
when it comes to that because you always knew what outfit you were going to put on.
Yeah.
So in right around high school, I did like a fashion show that was for how to wear your school uniform better, but
Yeah.
then style it, right?
Yeah.
So then I used the same material to actually style it differently
You've
and
been
then present it in
innovating since high
present
school.
it present it
Yeah.
at a carnival.
Yeah.
So that was good. And then after high school, I went into college, and during college, I found out also what it meant to be black, I said, right?
Yeah.
Like to be somebody else that's not white.
Yeah.
That kind of identity also started. And then that took me into then who do I want to be? Who do I want to be? What do I want to represent as a whole?
Yeah.
So I started making clothes in college and then doing shows in college as
Yeah.
well. So traditional things, mixing cultural things with hoodies. Like there were these hoodies that I changed with that I mixed with traditional garments
Yeah.
and made it an everyday wearable thing. So even T-shirts and
Yeah.
everything. And then I started doing fashion shows in different colleges to showcase
Yeah.
my pieces, right? So just thinking about it is making me laugh because it feels like it's a long time ago. But so that was a level of exploration in that time.
Yeah.
I don't have the same style I had back then,
Yeah.
nor will this style that I have will continue, but the quest is still the same. It's very similar. It is to figure out what my identity is, what I identify with in that moment, and trying to explore it fully. When I got back to sketching, it was still rooted in identity
Mm-hmm.
because I eliminated a lot of things. So I said if I were to work with just black ink,
Yeah.
what would that look like? So I have a full collection right now called Deeply Rooted Black Ink. And that is specifically for every work that I do that is black and white, which I think speaks a lot to my artistry in terms of who I am as a black person, also on a white surface, right? So that journey started when I went to college, yes, but then it has carried me through as well. The white sheet
Yeah.
is the blank thing, and it is nothing until the black ink is on it,
Yeah.
right? So there is a story in that already. And then what I put through the black ink, also the details, the texture or the shading and everything else also speaks its own story for the pieces.
Yeah.
However, how I packaged it is because it's a constant story, but it's a different scene that you get to capture within the art pieces I get to develop.
Yeah.
So in that way, the black and white has become my thing. It has become something that people also look at and recognize, or relate to. And it was until I did the blue circle as well. There were new people who got to find out about me and my work through that, right? Oh, you are the blue,
The
the
blue.
blue girl, the blue. So
Yeah.
that became an identity as well, because that collection was sold as a collection, or was presented, was offered to the audience as a collection. And I can tell you also a bit more about what that looked like. Still, it's discovering identity, right? Blue Circle, the way that came out was the project that came out, it was a 2-year project. It took me 2 years to put it together.
Yeah.
And then the blue is a representation of the color blue itself that had like different meanings throughout the time. But also, blue as a pigment was the last color that was found. Even though it's a primary color, it was the last color to the colors that were identified initially. And since it was so rare, it was used for holy things visually.
Yeah.
It was used for something that is holy or something royal.
Yeah.
So we didn't even have like ocean and sky and whatever as blue before. Right?
That's
So
interesting.
yeah, so it has evolved. The meaning of it has evolved over time. Right now, if you put like these gender reveals and whatever, pink and blue is for the boy, you know, this is the value of blue, or the meaning of the color blue has shifted through time. And so that's also very similar to our identities. Wherever you are positioned, wherever you're put in, there are certain identities that is given by other people already while you're coming into this world. There's already things that you are, right? The families you belong to, the community you belong to, the tribe, whatever the identifier is, you are already given certain things. Goes back to that sociology bit also I was talking about, right? So then from there, you also get to figure out who you are for yourself. So the decisions that you make, the choices that you have, the pivots that you that you make also in terms of changing who you are, what you take on, your friendships, your family, how you interact with your family, your personal development, professional development, whatever. These are different journeys that also take you on, like that give you a different identity as well, right? Or a label to say. So that shifts over time as you grow up, as you go through a heartache or a heartbreak, you know, like and becoming distant with friends that used to be very close to, being distant from family, or the culture that raised you and the family that raised you. So all of these things dictate who you are and who you identify as in that moment. And so that was the journey of the blue. And the circle is nothing is experienced the same way for the second time. Everything happens once. So whatever your excitement is, whatever the grief is, whatever the sorrow or the joy that you experience is fully there once. Even if it comes again, you're not particularly there. The
The same.
sensation is not the
Yeah.
same. The grief is not the same. If you're taking one element and you're rethinking it, it does not have the same value or the same impact when it happens the second time.
Yeah.
So everything is shifting and
Yeah.
it's on a circle. So that's why I called it that. So the main common denominator is that consistently I'm trying to figure out who I am and how to connect with people, and that understanding of identity and healing and what it means to overcome your fears or your challenges
Yeah.
or the things that make the shift of your identity, right? So that quest is still similar, whether it's through the deeply rooted black ink, whether it's the blue circle, or the one that's gonna come up
Come up soon.
soon.
Yeah.
It's a constant thing. But then how I package it is also what allows people to understand. Because if I tell you about this when I was creating one of the pieces,
Yeah.
it would be very different to understand it
Yeah.
as a whole, because I'm still trying to figure it out. But by the time I figured it out, then I have to also deliver it to you, so you have all of the information that you need and you take away what you need to take away. But if I'm saying I do this, I do that, I do that, and I cannot package it in a certain way that allows you to understand, then I guess that's where we're missing. So we can do multiple things because each piece will tell a different story, right? So there was one piece within the blue circle that had the cotton picked me.
Yeah.
That goes directly to, it draws the parallel between, again, identity as black people, right? So picking cotton is something that is identified as a black person's job or during slavery, in the US context, right?
Yeah.
However, cotton is our garment
Yeah.
for Ethiopians. Like that is our fabric of being is cotton. Our clothing, the things that we are that we share and everything is the 100% cotton.
Yeah.
From our traditional wears to what we do at church, what we give as gifts and everything else. And so even cotton has a different meaning according to where you are.
Where you are.
Right?
Yeah.
The value of it is different according to where you are. And so that's the decision also to make, that this has picked me. It's not me that's picking it. Is kind of drawing that parallel again with identity and where you are within the space. So this is the kind of discovery I do for myself, and then I present it in a way that also has other people to understand. But I don't particularly talk about this, right? I don't talk about, oh, this is what this piece means and everything. I don't like to do that personally as an artist. It could be others may choose to.
Yeah.
But for me, it's like, if I do this and I present it to you, I would like to hear what you take, what your take
kind of
is.
like speak for itself.
Yes.
Yeah.
Hopefully it speaks for itself, or it speaks to you. Like, it doesn't matter. Yeah. Because if it does, we have something to talk about. What you pick out is going to be completely different than what I intended it to be.
Yeah.
So the main goal is not for you to understand me as the way I intended it to be understood. That's not the goal. The goal is to connect, but the only way I can connect is to make me as close to the thing that I'm creating as possible, as vulnerable, as open as possible. So I think the branding also goes into that. I mean, for me, when I created By Lula, I've had a different business before, right? I've given different names to it. But for me, the main thing was I'm still discovering who I am as an artist, as a person. So the only consistent thing is my name.
Yeah.
So, and everything else that I'm going to produce is going to be by me. So let me just do the personal branding for it. And then anything else that comes before that, whether it's an event that I'm curating, whether it's I don't know, the art that I'm displaying, it would still be by me, but it's allowed to shift around. So the same thing for the studio space. It's called the studio.
Yeah.
But by
it
Lula.
Could be a studio that does anything eventually.
Exactly.
It's evolving.
Yeah. It has its own thing. It's just I will curate it, or I will have that space in a way that it welcomes and it allows other people to also do something else. Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense. And I think, when you're just talking about like your experiences with cotton, or the discussion around cotton and its association with slavery, and then what it's associated with in your own country. I was just thinking about that too, because I've maybe not exactly on the cotton thing, but I've had like similar experiences where it's like, you know when I like being in Africa, being born in Nigeria, then moving to Rwanda, like I never thought of I don't used to have I never used to have any discussions around like being black. Like I'm Nigerian, or I am
Yes.
this, or I am that. And then I found myself in a space where people were like, I had to move for like a job, and then I found people who were now talking about race, like race as a concept. And I'm like, for me, I don't even like, I've never talked about this. I
Yeah.
just, I'm like, where are you from? Like, I'm Nigerian. Or when you have to maybe apply for jobs or something, you come across those check
Exactly.
boxes and you have to
Yeah.
sign black. Like, I first had to figure out which one am I, black
Yes.
black slash Africa.
African
Like,
American.
I'm
Yeah.
like, which one am I? Me, I know I'm Nigerian, but so
Yeah.
I definitely understand the fact that, like, depending on the context that you find yourself in, certain issues or certain things mean different things to different people, and it will also like show in how you relate to that thing, or how you communicate
Yes.
that thing. So I think it's an interesting thing to see how you're trying to show the parallels between what cotton is to Ethiopians versus what cotton is to, say, Black Americans, like,
Yeah.
specifically, and the issues around that. So yeah, I think it's something I relate to too, as well. But then also, now going back to like the blue circle specifically. So I was also going to talk about, because for me that's how I came across, before coming across you. I came across your work, and that was the blue circle.
Oh
I didn't even
wow.
know who you were. I just came across your work on Instagram. Someone had like reshared it on their story or
Yeah.
something, and I came, and I think I might have even seen I don't know if it was like New Times, or like I had seen a publication
Yeah.
somewhere around. I'm like, oh, Lula, I didn't see you. I just saw the
Yeah.
exhibition,
That's
and then like a
excellent.
year later or something, I met you at an event.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the exhibition preceded you, and like I think that project really gained a lot of traction. But now you said that it took like 2 years. It was like 2 years in the making. So I want to hear about what the process was in from initial concept or initial idea on up to the way up to like the exhibition itself.
Yeah.
Were there, and like, what challenges did you encounter? Like, in 2 years, I assume that a lot of things happened in that
Hey.
in that time. So, like, tell me what the whole process looked like.
In 2 years, there was a whole identity formed within myself as well. Yeah, so initially, of course, everything starts as an idea, right? So I was doing research and really trying to understand color
Yeah.
and the history of color, just because I was doing acrylic paint. I was exploring acrylic.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to know a bit more. Like, I knew primary colors and these are generic things
Yeah.
as a whole, but not particularly the depth of it or the meaning. Usually I give meaning to whatever I create,
Yeah.
of course, but just to understand what's already on the ground, right? So I started doing a bit more research, and I've always been drawn to how a color is associated with a feeling, right? So blue specifically is associated with sadness or feeling blue. So it goes into music as well, blues, right? There's a specific genre that is created for it to be explored as something that is a bit more sorrow filled, I would say.
Yeah.
And so I was curious. Like, I was just curious because I loved blues. I love anything that just felt, I guess, the emotional weight
Yeah.
was already there.
Yeah.
And through my art also, that's what I try to depict as much as possible. And that level of vulnerability that I was also talking about is that you need to be able to tap into whatever you're feeling or you're experiencing in order to show it to the best of your ability. Like, you have to be aware of what that is initially, so you can present it outwards, right? So that's how I started researching. And I started putting pieces together, but then in the middle, obviously, work happens, other things come up, and it's there, and I paint, but There's some times that are just blockages that just does not allow you to move forward as you wish.
Yeah.
And so in those moments, also trying to sit in it and try to figure out what that means, what it holds. And still, it was a combination of acrylic on canvas and also ink work for me. So I still discovered, even when I was not painting, I was at least sketching, or there was something happening. And then from there, I really wanted to put my work out there. Since then, it has only been people, I mean, since I've started creating, or since I've moved also to Kigali, because my first 4 years I was not in Kigali, and I used to do it in my own home. Even in Kigali, I used to do it in my own home, and only the people who got to come to visit me at home get to see it, or the time-lapse videos that I would put out, which was also intentionally done to just put my work out there and not just keep it in my house, right? So to communicate it some way, somehow. And I wanted to push that a bit further, and to have a physical exhibition. And I haven't done that before. It was scary. I had no idea how to do it. But I wanted to pursue that. Whatever it was, I just wanted to show my work. And there was a lot of back and forth, from venues, trying to find venues, to how to figure out how I was going to finance this, because I was not just creating, now I'm creating to showcase, which means that it has to be ready. If I'm able to sell it, I want to be able to sell it right away, right? And so then quality wise, getting paint access, because now I'm not just exploring, right? I'm putting things together for a purpose. And so then the amount of paint I had to also explore with are limited. So then I have to buy paint. I have to buy quality paint that also stays longer. And getting access to that paint was also another challenge. One paint, if you were to buy it outside, and here it's like 3 times, 4 times more the cost. And if you're putting together a show like that, also you need more of that. And that becomes difficult, right? And then you have to do your own canvas. You don't particularly find it anywhere. Right now I started to sell canvases, but before that there was no place to also go and buy. So you would talk to carpenters, you would go to town to buy canvas, and then stretch it out yourself, like and all of that process also takes time, and it does not allow you to just pick up a canvas and paint when you feel like it, right? So it takes time, it takes the delivery. Once you have it, the process of even finishing a piece takes time. So that's what the 2 years was about. And then we went into printing and framing. Here costs a lot more. So by the time I was almost ready also to put it out, and I had a trip to Ethiopia, and I was planning to do it in Ethiopia, to get the prints done in Ethiopia and then bring it here because of the prices. The cost is insane.
So you're willing to like travel and incur the
I mean,
cost
I
of
get to see
travel
my family as well. But
Fair
it was
point.
almost like trying to figure out what is the best way to do this. Because if I'm buying something for, let's say, if a frame is 180K, and then I have to think about how much I'm going to sell this art piece. And if I'm going to sell it and somebody's going to buy it at that price. Because, and also imagine, it is my first show. It's costing me more than the production cost is more than what I was thinking to sell it. And then also, if it exceeds that, am I going to sell prints and painting at the same price? Like, even pricing is something we would have to talk about. Like, how do you manage a show like that and still be able to create pricing that is that makes sense, right? That makes sense for the time that you've put in, for the work that you have put in, and even the material that you had to do, and also what makes it worthwhile for you. So there was a lot of consideration that I had to do. If I'm doing 7 pieces of ink work that is going to be printed, and one is costing me 180K, how am I going to be able to do 7 of that?
Yeah.
Not to mention the rest of the art pieces that I'm gonna have as well. And so considering what your options are is a given. So if at the time I was planning to go to Addis anyway, so I did a lot more research to see what are the printing companies. There are also varieties as to how it can be printed, right? So if I to print it as a canvas, it's different. If I do it as a poster, it's different. If I use the kind of framing that I use, the wood that I use for those framings, it's different. So at least if I'm able to provide some level of value within the money I'm charging also, then it's okay. It will make sense. However, if it is the bare minimum, but I'm charging X amount that it just does not match what you're also doing, then that also beats the purpose. So the purpose was to create as much value as possible and then have people own your art pieces. So yeah, that's why it took 2 years to try and figure out what that was going to be like. But even within that, right? So after I went to Addis and I did the printing, I ordered the printing and everything else, it didn't get delivered by the time I was going to come back. Yeah, there was a
That must
lot
have
of
caused
there
some
was a
panic.
lot of hurdles that also come in.
Yeah.
But my goal was to make sure that I have my art out there regardless. And I could not be sidetracked by anything that could take the joy away from this. So there was an active intention of just being like, no, refocus, recenter. We're going to do this anyway. There is fear that comes in also in the middle of just being like, no, you know what? Let me not do it. That I had that moment. I was in Addis. I've created most of the collections already, and it's already in Kigali. I've had I was meant to have 8 pieces for acrylic, and I had 6 done, and then all of the black and white pieces were done, and they were just left to be printed, right? And I had 2 pieces that were remaining for the acrylic that I needed to finish. So while this was happening, I had like this overwhelming fear that came over me and said, no, I'm not gonna do this. I'm not gonna put this out, because I mean, who cares? Who wants to see it anyway? Like, why should other people care that you're doing this? You know, and obviously this is a conversation that you also have with yourself, right? Whether you call it imposter syndrome, I hate that word. I hate it. I hate the whole concept. I don't think that's another conversation.
We'll have that conversation.
But you see, and all of that, I saw it as an opportunity again to push out what I was going to do. So then I just posted a coming soon post.
Like now people will have to hold me accountable.
Will, exactly. I cannot be the only one trying to do this and not and whatever, because anybody that's a friend of mine, that is a family member, they would come and they would ask you, but then whatever reason you would give them, they would allow it because they think you know yourself well, you know? So it's not an excuse. Nobody's going to tell you, oh, this is an excuse and you're hiding from it or whatever. So then that means that is when you need to hold yourself accountable for those things. I said, I'm going to do this, so I'm going to put it out anyway. Coming soon. I don't know the date. I don't have a venue. I don't have anything, but it's coming soon. It will come soon. So that was it. And then past that, once I moved, this was when I was still talking to different venues and everything, and galleries even. But then what I wanted and how I wanted to present this work, it did not fit in any of the venues. It did not fit because it was either a home, or it felt like I could not isolate the art from, let's say, like the ceiling or how it's displayed. So I could not get how I wanted to present the artwork, could not
like the
live in the space. Yes, the experience I wanted to create. So I ended up going with Mundi Center. So I took one of the stores that was just bare and they didn't have clients there, and I took that as made it into a gallery. So that's usually like a rented space for a store or for an office space. But it was empty, so I took it for 3 days. And I did a 3-day exhibition. and I did a program. I did a program for it as well,
Yeah.
because I still had to rent the space, and the renting price I was willing to pay for was for 3 days.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
I didn't know what it was gonna bear. I didn't know if I was gonna sell. I didn't know if I was going to do anything. But I knew I wanted people to experience this work
Yeah.
freely, to come in, to leave, to go up, to have some level of movement. And what's in that space is the art piece, and those are the main things that you come to see. And relatively, I've always loved to recreate this moment I had. My dad took me to this exhibition they used to have, like when I was very little. He used to take me to this exhibition in Sheraton Addis, and it had multiple artists, but the pieces were so big, and I felt really small just looking at it, looking at something that was just so like up there. And obviously I was little then, but I kind of wanted to create that kind of experience also for people. And usually when you have it in the houses or in the galleries, it still makes it feel small, like it's a bit more clustered,
Yeah.
right? And I wanted the piece to exist that was a bit higher, or that was a bit unreachable but still reachable enough for you to engage with it,
Yeah.
but still feel small. So I had to take the place, and for me to do it the way that I wanted, then it meant I had to pay for the space that I wanted to create it in. So I will go back to that choosing. I was mentioning earlier. You have to make a decision every single time. If my goal is to showcase it in that way or to create that experience, there are things I also have to give in to. So whether it is paying a little extra for the space that can do that for me, or if it is to partner with somebody who can bring that vision to life a bit more. So different things that can actually come in that allows me to share my work to the audience, as offer my work to the audience in the best way possible.
Yeah.
And so that's how 2 years
Like I feel
came
like
about.
people who
It's a lot.
probably attended the exhibition, they would never believe that it took 2 years
I'm
to
sure I will have to ask around. But yeah, it does not
like
feel like that.
I'm very surprised that it took that. But now that you explain everything, I understand why
Yes.
it took that long. So it's
Yes.
like for for people who might be listening that want to start or have their own exhibition,
Yeah.
hopefully it won't take 2 years. But
Yeah.
it takes a while. You need to start planning like way in advance of when you'd want to, like, at least that's what I'm taking away from this, because
Yeah.
seems like it was a lot. Like, first of all, just with the battle with yourself
Yes.
that you should exhibit, you should
Yes.
go ahead against all of the challenges, against
Yeah.
everything, and then the logistics, finding where to do it, funding, like sourcing the funding for like everything, and not really knowing like what you actually get out of it.
Yeah.
You're just going in there
It's a
with some
gamble.
faith, with some faith, like
Yeah.
yeah, I hope something will. But I think
Yeah.
in all of this, what really still pushed you to go ahead was the desire to still share your work, like to
Yeah.
share your work with the world against all
That's
of the
it.
challenges. Like, I still want to show people what I have made, and
Yeah.
yeah, I'll go against everything.
There's a lot of faith in it, to be honest. Faith in the process, faith in yourself,
Yeah.
in God. Like
Yeah.
everything was like, because every hurdle was also met with a solution for me. That's
Yeah.
how I saw that experience, at least. And if my intention is right, then everything will fall into place, regardless of how long it took. Like it may seem 2 years may seem a lot,
Yeah.
but for me in that journey, it has taught me so much, and to be prepared to receive whatever I was going to receive in the end of it.
Yeah.
And if it wasn't for that also, I may not have valued it as much,
Yeah. Yeah.
of what that outcome is, or how far I've come, or how far I feel like I've achieved something. If I hadn't gone through those things, I don't know how much of it will have a similar value. It may have value, but I don't think it will hold that much weight for me. So there's a lot of faith in what you're doing and not getting sidetracked by the things that happen, because things always gets thrown at you.
Yeah.
A challenge is always going to be there. So I relentlessly going back to what this is going to serve
Yeah.
is a critical thing.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. And I think, just on the conversation of value, I think I would want to go back to that because, when it comes to selling your work or pricing your work, I think like it's directly correlated with the value that you are able to convince people that this piece holds or this experience holds. And like it's also something that a lot of artists struggle with, or creative struggle with, like being able to base their pricing on the value, or communicate the value of what they are creating to their audiences. So it's like how do you, when you price your work, or when you set a price for your work, how do you base that price, like how do you base the pricing on the value, how do you navigate just value based price? I think that's what we would call that with your work, with the work that you create, your art and everything, and beyond the art, maybe the experiences too as well. How can you say that, oh, I've made this and I'm going to charge this for this, and why is that one different? Why we charge differently for that art piece versus this one? And same thing for like the experiences as well. I assume that I now I don't know this. Maybe you correct me if I'm wrong, but maybe for certain things you might like have a ticket price, like to attend a certain event that you might be creating. So how do you determine what the pricing would be for
What
the
price to
services
set?
and the products that you create?
Yeah, so I think let's talk about value as a whole. I
Yeah.
think creating value is necessary. If you're going to sell something, of course you're solving a problem, or you are providing a perspective or something. You are contributing something,
Yeah.
right? So let's say this podcast right now, me being here, there is a value add to you or to
Yeah.
your podcast in terms of having a perspective of an artist or a curator from a place of business owner, and it may give you my experience, my personal experience,
Yeah.
adds value to the content of what we're creating, right? To whoever we're going to be teaching,
Yeah.
or this is going to be a lesson too. For me, this creates a platform for I guess I would say putting myself out there a bit more, right?
Yeah.
Just like that exhibition. Maybe now I have to put my words to what I'm also backing up in terms of action. Since I'm doing it, I can also speak about it, and this can create an opportunity for me to practice that,
Yeah.
right? To allow other people to know my process, but also maybe take a couple of notes on what has worked for me,
Yeah.
and could be beneficial to others. So this is the value exchange. This is what we're adding, what my experience, my personal experience, my business experience can bring to the conversation here, right? And your platform, your personal knowledge about what you're curious about is what creates the value. So now, if you were to sell this, then you'd have to think about the time that you've spent, the products that we have all around, the equipments that we're using, the space that we're using,
Yeah.
and just also, I guess, quantifying also what our skill sharing is actually like. And I
Yeah.
think that's the one that could be a bit more ambiguous
Yeah.
or more flexible. But in terms of the art pieces that I create, there's me as an artist. What is the value I'm creating as an artist as a whole? If I'm having a conversation with you, what's the value add? If I'm creating an art piece for you or for your space, what's the value add? So in everything, it's also the intention and what I'm bringing, what kind of, whether it's my talent, whether it's my time, whether it is my knowledge, whatever the case may be, these are the added values. So what I look at is, if I am producing something, if I'm producing something that is of a physical product, I look at what does it take for me to actually create this product, material wise, time wise, and then also efforts and skills. So usually for the efforts and the skills, there are things that you also do on yourself, on your professional side, to make sure that you grow in this, right? So the craft grows as well. So this means the podcasts that you listen to, the workshops that you attend, the things that you do to get closer to enhancing your professional level and how you show up in that space. So how I read, the things that I read, the conferences that I attend, the the networks that I'm creating, and all of these things to develop my professional level are the things that also aid me or gives me the I guess like the what do you call it, the validity, right? The right, have the right to speak about certain things. I will have the right to speak about certain things because I know, I'm aware, and I've been around those things, or I've taken that lesson, that workshop, that whatever that has added my skill, which eventually also adds value. So there's that. Then there's the materials, like I said, the things that we use, the time that is spent to create the product also afterwards. Some things could take 2 hours, some things could take 5 hours or 7 days, right? But even within that time, some things that we know to produce fast is because we've spent so much time doing it, and now we can do it in 2 hours, or now we can do it in 1 hour. And even that has value, right? So what we have spent in learning that and cultivating that is where the value is. So how do we charge that is also, you would have to look at also at the market. There's, as an artist, you have your own thing. You can make demands off of certain things on what you value. What you value should be the beginning and the end. As long as you value it, it's valuable. However, when it comes to selling things, you do have to look at what your market is, who is buying. And I think that's where we get lost also as artists, because our ecosystem matters in terms of sales, in terms of marketing. Who are we selling to? Who has the capacity to buy? Who has who's interested, or who sees the value in this enough to say, I want to put money in it. So the distinction is that as a creative, you can create something and you can say you value it, but then also when it comes to the business, there are people who also specialize on these things that can give you that perspective, right? Or that the tips or the right direction as to how to position yourself in an already existing market or in a non-existing market, and you're creating it for yourself. So creating those distinctions is what allows me to come to a certain conclusion. But also majority of the time is, okay, let me try to have variation within the products I create. So if I am selling, let's say, an art piece that is 800K, and this is like an acrylic on canvas framed work and stuff, and 1 meter by 1 meter, let me say. But then somebody else comes, connects with the art, but cannot own that piece. There are prints and there are ink works that I also do that are relatively a lot cheaper than that. But still you can find a way if that's something that calls you, right? If the print pieces are also being sold for 200, 300K, that creates a bit of variety. And then if you're also looking to say, hey, I'm not really willing to spend that kind of thing for your art, respectfully. So then you can have an alternative of owning a shirt or a sweatshirt or a smaller postcard that you can also compile and change into like your own gallery wall or things like that, right? So there is creating accessible artworks that you can come in and find your whatever is accessible for you. And just because you have a certain amounts that you would want to pay, it does not leave you from accessing an art piece or owning an art piece at all. So that's how I've started it. I started it and I'm growing into it, creating various ways to allow people to own the art. So you mentioned even the murals and everything. That's also an exploration of an arts piece can live without having to be framed, without having to be put on a certain thing. It can live everywhere, right? So that's why I changed my artworks into stickers, into t-shirts, into hoodies, into murals, into everything, because it is everything, and it has the ability to create that connection that I desire for it to have. So create different variations within the products and the services that you're also providing. And that allows other people to also, your audience, to pick and choose. And you also get different revenue streams for it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think very solid points. I think, I'm just thinking of when you talk about like having different like levels to it, where it's like, yes, the person you're targeting, they may not be able to get the highest priced version of it, but they can still get something. They can still get a part of it. And it's just reminding me of like the concept of of like tiers. So it's like, when even when you are like subscribing to a service or something, it's like there's basic, there's professional, there's team, there's this one, and then it's like you may not get all of this, but you can still get some of it, depending on what you are able to afford. And maybe also specifically what you may not need, like the highest end of it. You may just want a taste of Lula's art, and you just want to have something created by her in your house. So maybe a t-shirt is what you can afford now. So you go with that, and then you might still want it, and then at some point you're able to afford like the 800k painting, and then you come back and you get that. So I think that's a very solid that's a very solid point. And then just now remember, and initially I said we're going to come back to that point on structure, so we are going back all the way there. Now I think we've established that you are a you've dabbled into so many so many things. So I think also as creatives or as artists, we are very like into, a lot of us are very into like the work itself, doing the painting, the illustration, all of that. But maybe if you might not have had like some experience in a more, let us say, like disciplined environment, creating that structure might be difficult like for you. So for you, how have you been able to like navigate creating the structure where you are able to run all of these things simultaneously?
Hey. A lot of sleepless nights. No, honestly, I think it's also because, again, I will go back to that quest of what I wanted to do and what I wish to accomplish. Right? Is to create an alignment, that allows me to do what I do without having to feel burdened by it. So even these shifts of, okay, let me try this, let me explore this, it has always been with that quest of, let me figure it out, let me be curious, right? So it was I didn't have structure. I don't think that was structured at all. Because in a way, for me to try out something that I don't know how it's gonna work, I cannot create a structure for it to start. Like, I had no idea how long things were going to take. All I knew is where I wanted to take it, right? So I wouldn't say I had structure when I started. The structure comes in after you test it out. After you test it out, you are going to make a decision whether this is something worth exploring some more or it's not. So what I ask to myself, at least for any project, is I'm willing to spend 3 to 6 months on a project to fully see if it's going to work, if it's going to happen, if it's going to flourish into the things that we want it to. When you're thinking about a project to go into, you not only, the structure that goes into it is not only financing, but also the time that it takes to produce certain things, right? Certain products or services, however you're going to package it. The business development also matters, and then the marketing and the sales matters, and how you're going to track it matters. So within the 3 to 6 month period, depending on how big the project is, because that it can go for a year or even 2, I allocate a certain time frame to see what it should deliver by that time. So let's say within 3 months it should go live. Once it goes live, we'll see how many people interact with it, how many people interact and not buy, and how many people buy. Okay, from purchase, what is their customer experience, what is their input, their experience with the products that we have sold to them. Is it working? So these are the things that we will actually put in place to say, okay, this is what we wish to explore. Right? But while you're exploring, that structure may not be there per se as you want it. Like, you're not checking off from point A to point B to point C. Sometimes you go from A to H because it shows you it does not work, and then you just have to keep it pushing to, or a product gets so famous that now your focus has to be producing more to match the demand, right? So there are different things that come in as you test out certain things. Sometimes you're stuck in A for the 6 months because it does not move. So then you make a decision. You do that timeline and you make a decision. Am I going to continue to wait? Is the partnerships that I have, is the amount of time and energy I have also towards this still the same? Do I have the capacity? Do I have the capacity within my team? And these are things that you can put in place to check, to have your general check-ins. So initially, I would say the only structure that you'll need is just put a time frame just for yourself to check in if it's doing what it's doing, just to do a recalibration of either whatever system you've created for this product or this project, or even to get a sense check within yourself. Is this still serving where I'm trying to go? Because all of these projects that you have should push you forward to where you're trying to go. And that's how I use everything. I can give you a specific example. When I first started with Marindo, I moved to Rwanda. My goal was, I want to create a program that students, not only the graduating students, can actually work and benefit from, but it starts down to like all of the high school systems and the teachers can actually benefit from. And so the idea was, initially I came to develop a program. So once that was there, what I was given was the high school graduates, the graduating class. And while I was doing that is when I realized this is not going to work, because if we start the sessions and the workshops right now, it's already late. By the time they're in a 6 or they're graduating from the 12th grade, they should have an idea of where they're trying to go. If we're trying to discover who they are and what they're trying to do while they are dealing with final examinations, and they're also expected to perform in their schools, and they're graduating to go into college, it does not give us any time. So this conversation needs to happen way before. So then after a certain amount of time, we needed to include lower grades. So starting with S4, 10th grade, 11th grade, 12th grade. So at least this allows students to understand it, to discover early on, and then figure out what they want to do by S5 or 11th grade. And then by the time they're in S6, they're already sending out their applications, or they know what direction they're trying to go. And even within the breaks that they have, they can look for internships, for work, and opportunities like that allows them to explore it even more. So all of these things were things to check for. While this was happening for me also, it was, I loved education and I loved programming, but I would love to do this also for arts. How can we integrate arts within this system? So while I was at Marinundo, I used to have extracurricular classes for students to do it after school, because that gave them enough time to also explore what they wanted to do. So I used to teach photography to kids, and that just allowed them to engage with the nature, with the camera, learn something new, but still figure out what they liked. And so within these extracurricular activities also, I used to have sessions with students who would come to my office just to talk about what they're thinking about or what they would love to explore. And just that will allow certain level of openness to the students to be able to develop it.
Yeah.
For me, that was also my gateway to say, hey, arts program is something that I can develop, right? Then moving on to, okay, if I were to have a studio, like what would that look like? If I were to have a space, some level of residency, like it would be great to have that kind of space. And that was still the motivation, right? So while I was painting, also I had other students who used to come in, so I started bringing it to the office, so they can come and also see, witness, or interact with it some way, somehow. And that gave me a bit of courage to then, once I moved to Kigali, that was something I wanted to explore and then have a physical space for it and things like that. So I think with everything, it was more of like, what do I want to take out of this? Where do I want to, what do I want to use? What do I want to take further? And then from those critical moments of let me check in if this still aligns, if this still works, is what also allowed me to move from that space, because I have done what I could in the space and I've given what I could in the space. I felt like I was reaching my what do you call it, my ceiling, in terms of what I could do for that space. And so I wanted growth still. So in order for me to grow, I need to move. I need to go outside of the space and start something new. So that's when I moved to Kigali. That's when I left the job as well, and then moved fully into the arts. So I guess the structure, I never really had the structure fully. It's just I had pivoting points or check-in points for myself that allowed me to make decisions according to what I want.
That makes...
That's a long answer.
Long but like sufficient still. I mean, I think it was necessary for you to mention all of those and give those examples. But it does make, like, you don't necessarily have to start with like some very solid structure. And I think also it might come up, like it develops along the way as well. And you get to a point where you find, oh, okay, actually I'm actually pretty organized. I'm more organized than I thought I could be. So it's just about mainly, like, maybe having a timeline to some of those things, and just making sure that you meet your timeline. You know what you want to do, when you have to get it done, and just start with that. And then, around that, you start to notice that maybe you're actually forming or creating a structure on that. And something you also mentioned was, like, now I don't really know when it comes to like the size of the, let's say, team or people that you work with, because we all initially start out as we are working solopreneurs. So at what point were you like, okay, I think it's time I start, bringing other people on board, maybe to assist me with certain, or to delegate certain tasks? What triggered that for you, that like, at this point I have to...
Taxes.
Okay, I was unexpected.
So I think the first thing was that, because as an artist, you do almost everything, right? You create, you market, you are the salesperson, you are the brand developer, you are doing everything.
Many hats,
But and granted, I have worked with other brand designers, like logo designers and stuff like that. But I think the critical part for me, or the pivot, was, if I want to take this business seriously, if I want to make this work, I need to understand money. I need to understand how it works, and I need to know what it means to match it. It's not just about passion anymore. I need to create a sustainable way of living. And so that was the main goal. And I jokingly say that it's taxes, but it's also sometimes your passion drives you to do things out of the things that you love, right? And not particularly being pragmatic about what works. And usually you don't also get to know until it doesn't work, or it burns you in some way, somehow. And so for me, I knew I needed someone who was professional in that level to help me understand what it was, because I didn't even understand. I didn't understand what, I mean, in the context of Rwanda, you create a service, you sell a product, you sell a service, you give purchase code, EBMs, and what.
Yeah.
When you're starting a business, how much time do you have for your grace period, whatever. All of these things I didn't particularly understand.
Yeah.
All I had was a drive.
Yeah.
A drive to do this and to see if I can make a living out of it. But at the same time, there are people who know these things, who have an understanding, who live this on their day to day, right? And they can help as well. So not everything, as much as we're saying, well, we have to do everything ourselves, we don't have to do everything ourselves. There are people who specialize on these things as well that can not only help you understand, but can take the burden off, and they can manage. Because I dreaded doing Excel spreadsheets. Like, I hated it. I hated it so much because I liked seeing money come in, of course.
Yeah.
But then how I spend that, how I'm going to recoup it back, or how often I need to sell that specific product for me to get to my break even, or to make sure that everything else is taken care of for me to continue to do what I do. I didn't have any comprehension of it. I did an artwork, and then, okay, somebody loves it, they're willing to buy it, okay, of course. But then how do I use the money that comes in to sustain me? No idea. It was just like, okay, let me create another one. And then I had to create the type of system, right? So if I'm producing one art for 5K, then I will top it off with my profit, do a bit of a margin, but also this has to help me to do another art. Right? So then I started with just doing, okay, I will charge double the production cost, so I can, if I'm selling one, I'm making two next time. Right? And so that just created the ripple effect. And it does not touch my profit. My profit will still be there. That's what I get paid as an artist. But then it does not hinder my production as well. I'm not taking my production to produce something else. I'm taking the production cost that I charged twice to make two more. So that was the first thing that I did for myself. That way I started saving a little bit more, and then my production cost was not hindered by anything else. So then managing your own finances also comes under that. When you're producing, how much is it costing you? And then if you're trying to also have less, then how do you reduce your production cost? Sometimes that means you need to, instead of doing multiple deliveries, you do one day, a certain amount of time, one price, one moto guy who will deliver everything. You know? So then you will start thinking about the details and where you're, I guess the term is like bleeding money, right? Where are you losing money? And then you tighten up the screw a bit more, and then that becomes the structure later on. But initially you don't,
it's not at the beginning. You kind of figure it out along the way. But I hope whoever is listening is noting that how to reduce their production costs over time. But I think that's very, very, very solid points. I'm also noting that down for myself. I think also just on challenges, because you've mentioned now, from just the conversations we have, you mentioned certain challenges that you kind of faced. Going back to the exhibition, you talked about like the difficulty of like getting the materials you need, the pricing of those materials, and then now again you've mentioned like just understanding taxes and understanding all of those things when you were starting out. So just in your whole like transition, first of all, from moving from Ethiopia to Rwanda, and then starting all of that year, what other challenges have you faced in your transition, in setting up here over the past how many years? Like, what challenges have you faced? You can also give us solutions if you found solutions, some of them, but also if there's some that you're still like trying to figure out how to navigate around those, you can share those as well.
I think the challenges differ obviously from time to time. When I was starting the business, the main challenge was to understand what it means to run a business in Rwanda. That means understanding your market as well. Specifically, when you're selling art, it's a whole other thing. I think art is the most challenging thing to sell, to be honest, because you are whatever you value is what you also want other people to value, right? And how you communicate that is always a challenge, especially when people don't even see it, right? So it's a whole new market that you're tapping into. So understanding the people, understanding the surrounding, understanding what you are building as well, and not just creating for the sake of creating, but building something obviously takes time.
Yeah.
So that was the first challenge. And not having a one-stop center where I could see what other people have done, or started, and then building from there. So that's a constant, because the arts industry is very new here, but also the benefit of that is the art industry is very new here. So whatever you're going to create, whatever works, also gets to be a good footprint for you and for the next person, and everything. So the ease of starting a business is here. However, you do meet a challenge of the market access. So that means that you have to create that market, or you have to navigate that space for yourself and for your products. And that's, I think, still a constant. And then in terms of the bigger challenges right now as a creative, as an artist, I was speaking to one of my friends about this as well. Recently, I did a video that I published, and it was mainly what I wanted to also hear from people was almost like to critique work, right? To talk about different elements of putting a work out there that enables an artist to also I don't know, grow in a certain way. So to exchange, to use certain things as an exchange, to develop your skills, to understand how others also perceive your work, how it's done, like not particularly to gain what do you call it, an applause, or like you've done a great work, but rather what can be better, and allow other people to know what they can do, creatives to know what they can do. So that kind of creative exchange, I think, is missing within the creatives, because everyone is still doing their own things, of course, independently, and we're all trying to build ourselves. So I think that communal part within the arts, within the artists, to develop the skills that we need to critique the work, to share our work internally, I think that's something that we can benefit from. And what I'm doing for that, or what I'm planning to do for that, is to, because a friend of mine, I guess I was complaining about this, right? I was saying, why don't people share like what they actually think? And then it's not about it being negative or anything, but just it gives you perspective. And she was saying, oh, if you want that, you'd have to create it, or you'd have to ask for it. You'd have to, go to people and say, hey, what do you think? Critique my work, please. And I guess that was, in a way, for me, that was me putting it out there, was already allowing that to happen, right? So that means there's an extra step also that we'd have to take to pull each other in, and to say, what do you think of this? How can it be better? Or what is what are your thoughts on it, just in general? So that bit is what's missing. Generally in the creative industry, I would say investment. We need to invest in the industry for anything to happen. We can't just go with peanuts, or like research fundings, right? So there needs to be more investment that happens. As creatives and as consumers, as art consumers, we need to buy more. We need to invest in the artists, as they're investing in themselves. The artists need to be investing in themselves, in their crafts, and creating, again, adding value to the community and to what they're doing.
Yeah.
that is going to be presented for the audiences to purchase. So we create value also by purchasing, and by having certain things that circulate, right? One artist, by getting one art piece sold, they're able to create a bit more, and
Yeah.
they're able to take that to another person. And you, by consuming the art, somebody else is inspired to own a different art or to have an art piece in their houses as well. So that creates a ripple effect.
Yeah.
And for investments in general, is to look at the creative industry as one of the key economies that is going to the key things that are going to be driving the economy
Yeah.
for whether it's employment, especially for youth employment. That's like the biggest opportunity that we have here on the continent.
Yeah.
So creative industries and innovation is key right now,
Yeah.
and to take Africa to the next level anyway. So seeing that as an opportunity, and also providing support and creating an enabling environment that allows that to flourish,
Yeah.
is important. So for private sector also to include artists, because I think artists are already included. If you are doing, product developments, and you're having logos, you're putting together events, and you have artists that are also performing, sound systems that you're hiring, content creators that you're hiring, all of these things is the creative industry,
Yeah.
right? And so understanding it as a full package and how it's actually interrelated into everything that we do is what's going to create more value within the industry. So yeah, invest more on the creative industry is what I will say. Yeah.
Wow. Wow. I think just on the point we were talking about, like why, like you're discussing with a friend about like why people don't, why like they don't share, not sharing what you really think. I was just remembering some other podcasts that I listened to, and the person was talking about how he's a like designer, and he would normally like give feedback to some people, like submit their work to him and ask him for feedback. And he just gives critical feedback, and then at some point he noticed that they actually did not like that, like, and then eventually he just started asking people whenever they come to him to ask him for feedback. He starts asking people, do you want feedback, or do you want me to tell you your work is good? Like, do you really want feedback? And like that cut the amount of people that were coming to,
Yeah.
because it's like, yeah, a lot of people, they always want to hear your work is good, not really hear how you can actually improve, when hearing how you can improve is what is actually more important. Because I mean, everybody can tell you your work is good. Even people who don't know what you're doing, you can tell you like your work is good, but how does that help you?
Yeah.
How does that help you improve? And it just reminded me of like that podcast and what he was saying, and I think it
Yeah.
applies here as well. Like, you really need feedback. You need feedback from your peers, people who know, who have gone ahead of you in your field as well, but then also people who are on the same level with you, just to get extra perspectives, and that could inform your work and make you do what you do better. But yeah, also, I mean, with challenges too, you have, you've talked about the things that you have faced and all, but now going back, now I don't know how many years I would say, but like Lula, before she turned this into like a business, before he started, I think that would probably be back in Ethiopia. So um if you wanted to go back now, knowing what you know now, those challenges, the ones you've overcome as well, and the lessons that you've learned, what advice would you give younger Lola, who is just about to, start running like a creative enterprise? What pieces of advice would you give her?
Just do it. Like,
Nike.
yeah, Nike. They should sponsor. No, as in, like, don't second guess yourself a lot. I think we have this weird relationship with fear and failure and all of that, and there's nothing there. There's nothing in the second guessing. You don't benefit, you don't free yourself to begin with. You're not free of the thought, because the thought is there, the vision is there, and it's given to you. So it's not like you second guessing gives you more time. It just occupies your brain for nothing.
Yeah.
And then the amount of things that you also have to do, it's still a lot.
Yeah.
And you still have to figure it out. as you go.
Yeah.
And the only way you can do it is if you go into it and you do it. The only way to figure it out. So that second guessing, that it's a waste of time. It's a waste of time. That doubts that comes in, it's a waste of time. So I would just say trust your instincts. Whatever you're feeling is right. Just go. Just go for it. And yeah, that would be my only thing.
Yeah. I mean, it's an advice that it covers a lot of things. It's like, yeah, just do it regardless of whatever you might come across, whatever barriers you might face. Just go ahead.
Yeah,
And do
I think I can say maybe this would be a bit more trusting yourself, right? The doubt is usually whatever we feel like we cannot. What if we don't match the image also we're trying to give? So a lot of it is really based off of not particularly what we want to do or what we want to explore, but rather how we come off as, right? It's the image that we're also trying to filter. And so just switch that tone to what you want to do, what you want to experience within the process, and live in that fully, and everything else will come out whether you like it or not. Like the image, whatever, if you're trying to control the image, it will control you. It will control the process that you also have. So the more authentically you can be within what you're doing, within the process, and within whatever journey you're taking on, whatever decision you've made. If you've decided to be there, be in it fully, and trust that it will take you where you want to go. And trying to control is where we lose it. As creatives, how we, somebody else liked this piece, so I should be creating more of that. You've lost it already. Because then you are still channeling what you think somebody else likes. That may not be the case, right? You see a lot of duplications of visual arts here as well. So and so sold it for this piece, and I can do the same thing, so I'm gonna do that, and we lose it because the art is you. The art is within what you're going to create and what your experience is specifically that is given to you, right? You're trusted with that vision as well. So if you have seen it, because that thing will have to come out, whether it's you who's doing it or somebody else, it will have to come out. I'm sure there has been a moment where you're like, you wanted to do something, but you didn't do it, and somebody else has done it, and then you're like,
why
then
didn't
you start,
I?
why didn't I? Or it comes with a certain level of criticism too. Oh, if it was me, I would have done X, Y, and Z. Right? True. But you didn't. You let it pass.
You would have, but you did not.
Yes.
You did not.
But when somebody else has taken it and has, because that thing still has to come out. Like whatever we're creating, we're the vessels, but we're not the creators as well, right? So taking out the ego will help you go a long way. Usually the image that we're trying to control is the ego, so let that go. And then do it.
Wow. Bars, just spitting bars everywhere. Well, yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. So now I'm just gonna ask you some, I think I call rapid fire questions, but I'm gonna ask you some quick short ones.
All right.
So first one, what's your dream project to work on?
Oof.
But there can be more than one dream project. So if you have more than one.
My dream project to work on. I mean, this is something it does not particularly exist yet, but I would love for it to be like a museum that is for the East Africa or Pan-African museum, and I would love to curate the collection that is going to be exhibited there. So it doesn't have to be a permanent thing, but I would love to do a Pan-African. Like there would have to be an infrastructure that just gets built up first of all, but a Pan-African museum, and I would like to do the East African collection. For it, yes, that would be that. That's something that just came to mind, but the building does not exist yet.
It will bring it to life.
It will bring yes.
Okay. Second one. Although I feel like I might know the answer to this already just from our
Yeah.
conversation. But if you were not working in the arts, what
Mm.
sector would you be working in?
Hey, the arts will find you.
That's it.
The arts will find you anywhere.
Yeah,
But
fair.
if I was not in the arts, I'm in education. Yeah,
I also thought
education
the
and arts.
same.
It's still the same. It has the same weight
Yeah.
for me. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, very much
Okay.
so.
Okay. That makes sense. That was what I had in my
Yeah,
mind.
just
Yeah.
but we can merge it. Like
Yeah.
that would
Yeah.
be the
I
dream.
mean, you can always find a way. Art is always everywhere. It doesn't really matter. Like you can always find a way to bring it in.
Yeah.
Okay.
So let me go back to your first question, right?
Yeah.
So that's a project that is separate. If
Yeah.
it's something I want to build, it's different.
Yeah.
So the project I want to build
Yeah.
is to have a school that is for the soft skills and the arts entirely.
Yeah.
And this would be to have it for the youth as well. So right now we have like youth centers and such, right? But to actually have a life, like a life school,
Yeah.
but a creative life school,
Yeah.
is my ultimate goal. And that was also why I worked in education. I wanted to work in different African countries, also just to see what that would be like. But the current education systems that we have require that we have like rankings and everything, which I'm not a fan of, right? This standardized, you take a test and you perform like this, those things, I am not a fan of. So, so my ultimate goal would be if I could build a school
Yeah.
that has a life school and it's really around creative process, creative work.
Yeah.
That would be my ideal thing. My life project
Yeah.
would be that. Yeah.
That. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. And for the final one, so I feel like I'm punishing you with this question, but like
Okay.
if
Let's
of
go.
all the art related things that you do,
Yeah.
if you had to drop everything and you are left with only one of them, which one would you want to be left
I will
with?
not.
You know?
I will not pick one.
You will not pick one. You drop all of them.
I will not. Because for me, and what I'm talking about right now,
Yeah.
right? For me to exist the way I am, I do have to have the outlets that I have.
All of them. Yeah.
So whether it is consulting,
Yeah.
right, whether it is talking about arts that allows me to understand the policy side of things,
Yeah.
or it is to create by myself in my
Yeah.
own rooms,
Yeah.
in my own studio, and having that conversation with the artists.
Yeah.
That's what allows me to exist. Like if I take one only, it's not gonna reach its full potential.
Yeah.
Like I cannot tell you, oh, I will be in my room and I can be, oh yeah, I can do that for maybe like a month or two, but then if I'm not speaking about it, if I'm not talking or engaging about it at all, I would not reach its potential. It wouldn't have the value it has.
Yeah.
So all of it is intertwined. I cannot pick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll take the answer. We'll take that.
Yeah.
We'll take it. Yeah. That makes sense. Well, yeah, thank you so much for being a guest on this podcast, for sharing everything you've shared. And I think not just me, but our guests would also like to know where they can find you and your work and your space and everything that you do online.
Okay. So my social media is at by Luladey. Website is by Luladey on everything. And the studio is currently based in Rugando, Rugando Gishushu area, and you can find the Google Maps on my social media as well. And yeah, I would love for you to come visit. The studio was really created for artists to use that space to convene, to discuss, to share their projects and what they have going on, but also to rent it out if they are people who are traveling or artists here who are looking for an actual studio space. They can rent it out for half a day, full day, or even a week. And then there are some materials that we also sell from there. So canvases, brushes, and things like that. If you're using the space, you can use the brushes and the paintings and all of the materials that are actually in the space. But if you need anything additional, that's something we can discuss. And yeah, that's also done in collaboration with the Terrace, which is a building that has a short stays, but also for creative retreats and event space. And the aim for that space is to be able to host artists and art lovers and travelers as a whole, but also eventually to be able to do like a residency and work cross cultures, cross countries with other galleries and programs that can do art exchange programs as well. And so we're looking towards doing a programming and promoting it in that way. But currently for short stays and events and an art studio space as well. So yeah, you can come find me there.
Thank you so much, Lula. So for anybody that might be listening, watching, that wants to, visit Kigali, yeah, you found a space where you can, just come and stay for a while and meet Lula as well. So thank you so much again, Lula, for being a guest. Thank you for everything that you've shared. And
Thank you.
to our listeners, thank you for tuning in to this episode. And wherever you're listening from, watching from, please don't forget to like this video, share it, subscribe to our channel so that other people like you can also, listen to all of these insights that Lula has shared today. So yeah, see you next time on the next episode of Lucrative Africa podcast. Bye.